On July 19th, 2006, Bon Jovi ended their New Jersey concert by performing one of their biggest hits, Living on a Prayer, in front of a crowd of 80,000 people as they sang along. On that same day, halfway across the world, I was also in a crowd. Except this crowd wasn't singing Living on a Prayer. They were all praying to live. I was 10 years old, and I was alongside 1,000 other Americans waiting to get on a US Navy ship destined for Cyprus. I was evacuating from war in Lebanon without my parents. My mother was not a US citizen, so she could not evacuate with us. And my father was working in Dubai at the time and could not be by our side because the airport was bombed a few days earlier. I was there with my grandparents and my 12-year-old sister. We got pushed and shoved by other individuals anxiously waiting to get on the ship. Screams and cries erupted from different pockets of the crowd. Chaos everywhere. After hours of waiting in line, we boarded the ship, luggage in hand, and made our way up a series of steep and narrow steps to the deck of the ship, where we had one plastic-covered mattress waiting for us. I sat on that mattress with my favorite toy in hand, my belongings by my side, and my family within arm's reach. As I watched the Lebanese shoreline fade away, I had my very first experience with loss. Things that I always thought were guarantees had now been taken away from me. My parents, friends, and home were all gone. As a 10-year-old, I felt defenseless and afraid. After all, what was I left with? I quickly learned that I had a lot more than I ever expected. Growing up, my grandfather used to always tell me to focus on things no one can take away from me. Things like my education, love for others, and perseverance. I never understood the true value of that lesson until I found myself in this situation. I was literally in the middle of the sea, but still had everything I learned, an abundance of love for and from my family and friends, and the perseverance to carry me through any situation. Knowing that no war or hardship would ever be able to take that away from me helped me build an unshakable confidence in my ability to handle difficult situations. So I urge you all to take the time to get to know yourself. Understand what you have that nobody can take away from you, and use that to fuel your confidence. In September of that year, the war ended and I returned to Lebanon and reunited with my parents. In Lebanon, we lived through 8 turbulent years where the country went through cycles where periods of peace, political stability, and economic prosperity were followed by times of violence, rampant corruption, and economic downturn. Progress towards a better, safer future was continually made and lost. It always felt like the country was on the tipping point, about to go down a vicious spiral of no return. But it never did. I asked myself why. I think one answer lies in what statistician Nassim Taleb calls anti-fragility. To understand anti-fragility, it helps by first defining this order. Disorder is anything outside of the ordinary. It is a force that acts on you and impacts how you feel and behave. Think of it as stress, chaos, uncertainty. And the way Nassim likes to explain this concept is by showing the relationship between disorder and 3 unique qualities. The first quality is fragility. If something is fragile, then it is easily damaged by disorder. Take a wine glass, for example. If you drop it, it will shatter. In the context of people, if someone is fragile, then they are afraid of the unknown and break down when the going gets tough. I urge you all never to be fragile. A step above that is robustness. If something is robust, then they are resilient to disorder. Take your blue slalom water bottles, for example. If you drop them, they won't shatter. They may occasionally leak, but that's besides the point. In the context of people, if someone is robust, then they simply don't care. They're not impacted by disorder because they don't let it get to them. And a common misconception is that robustness is the opposite of fragility. That's not the case. Fun fact, there's actually not a single word in the English dictionary that describes something that is the exact opposite of fragility. So Nassim Taleb did what any rational man would do and coined the term anti-fragility. And this is when things gain from disorder. So anti-fragility is beyond resilience or robustness. The resilience stays the same, the anti-fragile gets better. And I realized that with every shock Lebanon went through, its people and its systems adopted to a new way of life and increased their tolerance for uncertainty and then became better prepared for future shocks. My country and its people were anti-fragile. So anti-fragile that they survived 2 years without a president and still turned out okay. Just in case you had to choose one of the three. So you're probably wondering, how did I get here? Well, after I graduated high school, I decided to move to Boston for college, a city that I'd never been to attend a university I'd never toured. Most fragile people would think that that's crazy, and the robust wouldn't care. After all, what kind of sane person would leave everyone and everything they know, move over 5,000 miles to be alone? But by embracing anti-fragility, the decision was a no-brainer. You see, compared to Lebanon, Boston was like paradise. It had 24-hour electricity, hot water on demand, modern human rights. How hard could it possibly be? After I graduated from college, I took my second dive into uncertainty, and I moved to Chicago, the city of deep dish pizza, polar vortexes, and healthcare clients. And after 3 years here, I could confidently say I've survived all three. So, I'm saying all of this to show that if a kid from a small town in Lebanon can go through all this change and still end up in the same room you all are in tonight, then don't be afraid to take risks. It'll be fine. You'll be okay. As I stand here and I reflect on the last 23 years of my life, I can't help but feel an overwhelming feeling of gratitude. Despite everything I've been through, all the chaos, hardship, and fear, I have to admit, I was dealt a very fortunate hand in life. Earlier in my talk, I mentioned that everything in life can be taken away from you. But I left out one very important thing, and that is we were all given great gifts in life for reasons out of our control. And this talk would not be complete if I didn't express gratitude for some of those gifts. For starters, I was gifted selfless parents that always put my sister and I's needs ahead of theirs, even if it meant putting us on a ship without them. I was gifted remarkable grandparents who not only helped raise me, but in their 70s and 80s, helped 2 children and a handful of luggage cross 3 continents in 2 days to get to the United States. I was gifted an amazing family in the States that opened their homes and welcomed us with open arms and made sure we had everything we needed to feel comfortable. I was gifted a US passport that allowed me to evacuate from war when other people couldn't. I was gifted the beautiful country of Lebanon that I called home for many years and taught me how to live and succeed in a chaotic environment. And finally, I was gifted all of you that helped turn the city that I'd never been to into a home. I can't explain to you how good that just felt. But since we're all consultants here, I'll use research. Research shows that expressing gratitude is powerful. It can improve your physical, mental, and relational well-beings. And these effects tend to be long-lasting. So be grateful. It's been 13 years since I got off that ship, but that experience helped shape who I am today. In the spirit of learning from others, I urge you all to hold the following 3 lessons close to your heart. My journey started with a ship, but yours doesn't have to. To uncover what you should focus your attention on, imagine yourself in a disaster. Maybe it's a family emergency or a fire in your home. Where will you be? What will you have? How will you start over? Use what you learn about yourself to become anti-fragile. A stable life may be easy, but it is not the best thing for you. So embrace stress and seek uncertainty. It'll make you better prepared for future shocks. And finally, be grateful, because we were all given great gifts in life that helped us get to where we are today. Personally, the biggest gift I was given in life was my father, who, when life's events caused the ground underneath us to shake, he lifted our world and held it on his shoulders to make sure it never fell. Because of his sacrifices, I get to stand on this stage in front of you tonight. Dad, I know it killed you that you couldn't have been with us that day in 2006. But thank you for coming all the way from Lebanon to sit in the crowd tonight. I love you. Thank you.